In the town of Winter Haven, snow fell like a soft whisper, covering the streets in a glistening blanket. The townsfolk were busy with Christmas preparations, blissfully unaware of the dark shadow that was about to descend upon their festive spirits. Among them was young Emily, whose excitement for Christmas knew no bounds. As the town clock struck midnight on Christmas Eve, a chilling wind swept through Winter Haven. An unknown figure, cloaked in darkness, entered the town. Its presence was felt but not seen, as it lurked in the shadows, watching the townspeople with unseen eyes. Strange things began to happen. Whispers echoed through the empty streets at night, and peculiar footprints appeared in the snow, leading to nowhere. The joyous atmosphere began to wane, replaced by a sense of dread that gripped the hearts of the townsfolk. Children began to vanish, one by one, leaving no trace behind. Desperate searches led to dead ends, and the once vibrant town was now shrouded in fear. Emily, brave and curious, decided to uncover the truth behind these mysterious disappearances. Her quest led her to the edge of Winter Haven, where the ominous whispering woods lay. It was said that those who entered never returned. Emily, driven by a determination to save her friends, stepped into the forest, unaware of the horrors that awaited. Inside the forest, Emily encountered twisted creatures, remnants of forgotten Christmas tales, turned malevolent. The air was filled with the sound of their haunting whispers and eerie screams. She realized that these beings were responsible for the children's disappearance. Deeper in the forest, Emily discovered an ancient, decrepit cabin where the mysterious figure resided. It was the heart of the darkness that had befallen Winter Haven. The figure revealed itself to be a cursed spirit, trapped in eternal sorrow, feeding off the joy of others. Armed with her courage and the light of her pure heart, Emily confronted the spirit. A battle ensued, where light clashed with shadow. With each act of bravery, the spirit's power waned, weakened by the strength of Emily's resolve. As the first light of Christmas morning broke through the darkness, the spirit let out a final, sorrowful wail and vanished. The children were freed from its grasp, returning to their homes unharmed. Winter Haven was forever changed. The townspeople, once again united, celebrated the bravest among them, young Emily. They realized that the true spirit of Christmas was not just in joy and celebration, but in the courage and love that binds them together. Now the second story. In the remote village of Frost Hollow, an ancient curse reawakens every 50 years on Christmas Eve, bringing with it unspeakable horrors. This year marks the half-century since the last occurrence, and as December draws near, a palpable sense of dread settles over the village. It begins with an unnatural snowfall, heavier and darker than anyone has ever seen. The snow blankets the village, cutting it off from the outside world. Whispers among the elder villagers speak of the last time this snow fell, a night when the village was consumed by terror. One by one, villagers start disappearing, leaving behind only chilling traces of their existence. Homes are found empty, with meals still warm on the table and fires burning in the hearths. The disappearances are random, sparing neither age nor status. As fear mounts, people report seeing figures in the snow, shadowy entities that resemble twisted versions of traditional Christmas characters, each more grotesque than the last. These beings seem to be orchestrating the disappearances, but their purpose remains a mystery. A young couple, Thomas and Eliza, hear ghostly carols outside their home. These aren't songs of joy, but rather eerie laments that seem to seep through the walls. When they look outside, they see nothing but the ceaseless snowfall. On Christmas Eve, the terror reaches its peak. The air itself feels heavy with an ominous energy, and the villagers brace themselves for the worst. That night, the village is plunged into darkness as an otherworldly storm cuts off all electricity. In the heart of the storm, Thomas and Eliza witness a congregation of the shadowy figures gathered around the old, gnarled Christmas tree in the village square. The figures are performing a ritual, their chants growing louder and more frenzied. The couple discovers an old tome in the village library, detailing the origins of the curse. It speaks of a pact made long ago with a malevolent entity, betrayed and seeking revenge every 50 years. The entity feeds on fear and despair, growing stronger with each cycle. Armed with this knowledge, Thomas, Eliza, and a group of villagers confront the shadows. Using symbols of true Christmas spirit, love, unity, and bravery, they challenge the curse's power. As they face the entity, the village's collective willpower begins to weaken the curse. As dawn breaks, the shadows dissipate and the missing villagers return, confused but unharmed. The entity lets out a wrathful howl as it's forced back into slumber. In the aftermath, Frost Hollow is forever changed. The villagers vow to remember the lessons learned and to honor the true spirit of Christmas, knowing that in 50 years, the battle may have to be fought once again. Now the third story. In the secluded town of Winter's End, nestled in the heart of a dense, snow-covered forest, a chilling legend resurfaces every 100 years, coinciding with a rare celestial event that occurs on Christmas Eve. This year, the stars align once again. As December advances, the townspeople begin to notice disturbing changes in the forest surrounding Winter's End. The once tranquil woods become shrouded in an oppressive silence, broken only by faint, unsettling whispers that seem to echo between the trees. Local folklore speaks of an ancient entity bound to the forest that awakens with the celestial alignment. This malevolent force, known as the Shadow of the Pines, is said to bring unimaginable horrors to the town, seeking retribution for a long-forgotten transgression. One by one, children start disappearing from their homes. No tracks or traces are left behind, save for a single pine needle found in their rooms. Fear grips Winter's End as parents desperately search for their missing children in the forbidding woods. As Christmas Eve approaches, the forest seems to creep closer to the town, its dark, twisted pines casting long shadows over the houses. Strange, otherworldly symbols appear on doorsteps, and the whispers grow louder, more insistent. A group of teenagers, led by a brave young woman named Clara, discovers an ancient book in the attic of an abandoned house. The book contains a forbidden ritual that could potentially banish the Shadow of the Pines, but at a terrible cost. On Christmas Eve, as a blizzard engulfs the town, Clara and her friends venture into the heart of the forest. They find a clearing where the snow seems to swirl in unnatural patterns, and the air is thick with a sense of impending doom. The ritual requires a sacrifice of pure heart to confront the entity. As they begin, the Shadow of the Pines reveals itself, a towering, spectral figure, its form constantly shifting and twisting, eyes glowing with malevolence. Clara steps forward, offering herself as the sacrifice. The entity envelopes her, and she experiences visions of the town's dark past, including the origins of the curse. She learns that the entity was once a protector of the town, betrayed and corrupted by greed. Using her newfound knowledge, Clara confronts the entity, not with force, but with an offer of redemption and release. The battle is not only physical, but also a struggle of wills and spirits, as Clara fights to free both the entity and the children. As the first light of Christmas morning breaks, the entity, moved by Clara's bravery and compassion, releases the children and disappears, finally at peace. The forest retreats, and the town of Winter's End is free from the curse. Clara returns as a hero. The town, now aware of its history, vows to remember the true spirit of sacrifice and redemption. Winter's End becomes a place where the shadows of the past give way to a brighter future. Now the fourth story. In the remote and snowbound town of Eldritch Hollow, an ancient prophecy whispered of a time when the veil between worlds would thin every 100 years on Christmas Eve, unleashing unspeakable horrors. This year marks the centennial return of this ominous event. December in Eldritch Hollow is unusually bleak and foreboding. The townspeople notice strange occurrences, bizarre patterns in the smell, unnatural cold, and an eerie glow emanating from the woods at night. The heart of the town's unease lies in the dilapidated Eldritch Manor, standing at the edge of town. Once a grand estate, it now lies abandoned, its history shrouded in tragedy and rumors of a cursed family lineage. As Christmas nears, a haunting melody resonates through the town at night. It sounds like a twisted version of a Christmas carol, but with a discordant, chilling tune. Those who hear it are plagued by nightmares of a shadowy figure robed in crimson. Several townsfolk begin to disappear, leaving behind rooms filled with bizarre symbols drawn in red. The local authorities are baffled, with no leads or explanations, while the townspeople grow increasingly paranoid and fearful. A group of friends, led by the curious and determined Sarah, stumbles upon an old diary in the manor's attic. It belonged to a member of the Eldritch family and contains cryptic references to a ritual and a gatekeeper to another realm. On Christmas Eve, a rare blood moon illuminates the sky, casting an ominous red hue over Eldritch Hollow. The town is enveloped in an oppressive atmosphere, and the foreboding woods seem to encroach closer to the town's borders. Sarah and her friends decipher the diary and learn about a ritual that can close the weakening veil between worlds. The ritual requires them to confront the gatekeeper, a being that feeds on fear and chaos. As midnight approaches, the group ventures into the woods, guided by the diary. They find a clearing where the snow is stained crimson, and the air is filled with a palpable sense of dread. The ritual begins, and the gatekeeper emerges from the shadows, a grotesque entity with eyes like burning coals. The group endures a terrifying ordeal, facing their deepest fears as the gatekeeper attempts to break their resolve. The ritual reaches its climax, with Sarah at its center. She confronts the gatekeeper, using her willpower and the strength of her friend's belief to push back against the entity's malevolence. As the blood moon wanes, the ritual's power peaks. The gatekeeper lets out an otherworldly scream as the veil begins to close, sealing the entity back in its realm. The crimson snow fades to white, and the eerie glow in the woods dissipates. Eldritch Hollow wakes on Christmas morning to a new reality. The town is forever changed, but there's a sense of unity and strength. Sarah and her friends are regarded as heroes who saved the town from descending into chaos and darkness. The events of that fateful Christmas Eve become a part of Eldritch Hollow's history. The town rebuilds, mindful of the fragile barrier between realms and the bravery required to protect it. Every Christmas henceforth is a reminder of the thin line between our world and the unknown.